Pongpira, are you in the room? Someone named Pongpira who's going to talk about OSM mapping? No? Oh dear. Pronouncing Thai names. Pongpira Wong Prasithipon? No? Are you Pongpira? Are you Pongpira? Your name?
Pongpira.
Yes.
Sure. Actually, no need to say that because I already submitted the slides.
Okay.
So you would have to see it.
Have a look.
Where is my slide?
Excellent. When did you submit?
On March 10 at night.
Okay.
Something not downloading?
No network, yeah. Can't get
It's
to the
coming, it's coming.
There we go.
That.
Good luck.
Thank you. This is my first time speaking at an event like this. This machine have internet light.
Ish. It has some internet.
Maybe I could try.
Well, we're basically waiting for it to load. Is that the right?
If something ever goes wrong, I have my laptop outside. I can use it as well.
That might not be a terrible idea. I don't know why this is going so badly.
If that's ever needed.
Is this the right one? Are we using, do we know if we're using the right network? Oh, there we go. That's what I wanted on the schedule.
Ooh, 20 attendance. Okay, I can find my way around from here.
Hooray! Okay, we have succeeded.
So, do you have
On?
do you have some sort of presentation remote or something?
Clicker. Good afternoon, welcome back. We now start the afternoon session for Open Source 101, and we're going to start with Pongpira and indoor mapping for OSM.
So
Please take it away.
Excuse me, where's the camera? Okay, sure. Okay, so hello, I'm Pongpira Wong Prasithipon. I'm a student from KMITL interested in free and open source software, decentralization, open data, and open standards. And I work on OpenStreetMap and many other projects. So apart from this, open source projects, open data, there are also many things that I can do, such as DevOps, Linux system administration, UI design, and so on. I'm also happen to be seeking a full-time position.
Okay.
As long as someone is.
But, yeah.
Closer? Okay, sure.
So 3:30 will be gone.
Okay.
Strange.
Okay, so and I'm also happening to be seeking a full-time position available from April 2025. And yes, I'm graduating next month.
After this morning.
Okay, so let's get on to the topic. So let's talk about indoor mapping. So you might have already know about OpenStreetMap and how it's famous for usually mapping things like outdoor features, buildings, and many amenities that you may have seen on your roadside, in your town, and so on. But in this area of OpenStreetMap, we are doing something else that is called indoor mapping. So how is indoor mapping even different from other usual kind of mapping? So as I've said before, normal mapping consists of adding buildings, roads, rivers, ponds, and train tracks, bridges, and so on, while indoor mapping focuses on a smaller scale inside just one building. So in one building, we will map things like floors, rooms, elevators, stairs, and other features of a public building. Notice that I'm emphasizing on the public building. Yes, the building must be public. We are not going to map things in a private building where it's a private property. So this indoor data, when being made public, it can be useful in many circumstances, such as being useful for visitors. For example, when I come here for the first time, I don't know where things are. If there are indoor maps, it could be useful for me to find amenities like finding a toilet, or maybe something even more significant, such as whenever an emergency situation happens, apart from us residents, apart from us visitors, those working in emergency rescue units can make use of this public data to make the rescue process easier. So there are actually very few locations in Thailand that actually already have this kind of data as shown on the right. There are a few places in Bangkok, in Nakhon Sawan, and somewhere in northern Bangkok. So how do we collect the data? So if you would like to collect the data of a building, usually we will be heading right to that building to collect the data on site. Why? Because for most public buildings, there will be maps of the building, especially this kind of indoor map, somewhere on the building, such as near the elevators, near the fire exits, near the fire hose cabinets, near the staircase, and so on. There will be many places for it, but if for the emergency related ones like those for evacuation, they tend to be somewhere near the fire exit or fire hose cabinet or fire equipment and so on. So if we finally manage to find one, we would be taking photos of it using our mobile phone. I myself use the cam scanner app or maybe sometimes Microsoft Lens to take the pictures using my camera and crop it, descale it, and do some processing. And finally, when we have the data that will look like the figure up on here, this one is already considered ready to use for the next step. This is an example building map of a mall in Lat Phrao on the first floor. You see that there will be some features of the building such as, can this be zoomed in? Okay, we can zoom in here. Oh, never mind. We will see the elevators, we will see the stairs, we will see rooms, we will see escalators and doors for leaving or entering the building. And this is what would be useful for us. So when we already have the indoor map, the next step is we will be using this to work with our tools. The tool we'll be using today is the OSM in Edit. The OSM in edit is available at this website osminedit.pavi.info. When we go to this website in the web browser, it will look like the picture on the right. We'll see that big red button that says import floor plans, and that is exactly what we need. So we will be adjusting the view to the building that we would like to work on. For example, that the building of the mall itself will zoom to the building, pan the map, and place that red import floor plans. Now, since we already have many photos of the floor plans for each of the floors, since these malls typically have multiple floors, we will be adding the floor plans for each floor we would like to work on and set in the OSM in edit tool that which one of these images of each floor belong to. For example, we have for the floor 0 as on OpenStreetMap, we'll set the number 0. And if it's underground of some sort, there would be something like -1, -2, and so on. The ground floor is 0, 1. When imported, the next step is to align the floor plan to match how the building actually looks like. We adjust the zoom, the position, and especially the opacity, because if it's too opaque, we cannot see the building itself. And well, when we zoom in, we'll see that for this one, I'm using Bing's aerial imagery. When we zoom in too much, there can be some problems because they don't have the data at certain zoom levels, like this one. They'll display like this, no imagery at all. We have the option of zooming a little out or maybe using other imagery providers because there isn't only one. They have like Mapbox, they have Bing and Leslie and so on. As I have said, there are many of the providers available. You can pick one you'd like, but be sure to keep in mind that since normal OpenStreetMap website, the ID editor provides us the option to adjust the position or realign the imagery. We see that sometimes the new imagery does not align with existing data, which ID allows us to realign ourselves, but OSM in edit, not yet. Okay, so when we already finished aligning the imagery of the aerial imagery and our floor plan, and now we will be drawing the building itself if one does not exist yet. So there will be the menu up there that we can use to draw the building. We can simply draw the polygon of the building by tracing the aerial imagery, the satellite imagery. And when everything is now ready, we can start tagging the building. So we could put things like the building's name, we put like the number of floors, number of underground levels, number of overground, total height. If there's any of them, we can notice. Or maybe other related stuff like maybe what is the type of that building, maybe what's the name, what's the building be like it's a retail building, or maybe it's an education related building like university, or anything that's applicable using normal OpenStreetMap tags. So when we already finished tagging the number of floors, we'll see on the top line that there are floor indicators up there. And this is what we will need to check out next, because this is how we are going to draw features and amenities for each floor that we have selected on the top right menu. So this time we will be doing on the floor number 1. Now we'll see that for this one, this building, we already have some POIs in that is tagged as points. So there are still some things missing, such as there is no toilet in there, and we'd like to add the toilet of this building on this particular floor onto OpenStreetMap. So we'll be using the edit features function. So we'll click the edit features function of this building in OSM in edit, and we'll start searching. So we're going to zoom it to the desired location, and we'll click that search box, type in toilets, and we'll start drawing on the map as we have seen on the floor plan. So when we draw some features in OSM in edit, we will have an option to decide between it's a point or maybe it's an area. So point is for smaller things like maybe a trash can or maybe something like dispenser machines for drinking water and that sort of small stuff. But if it is something bigger like maybe a room, we'll be using the area. They also describe that for wider features, like for more than a few square meters, we'll be using area. You can use that as a guideline too. So when we already selected it as an area, we'll be tracing the area. As we have seen in the map, we have seen the corners of each corner. We'll click on each corner, and when we finish, it will look like this. So we already have this toilet that is actually finished. We will fill in the information as needed. So what kind of information we would use for toilet? Like access rights, whether it's a private thing for staff only, or maybe something open to the public, or maybe you need to be customers only, or something like that. And there will be some things like tagging the gender for the toilet, or maybe whether if it's applicable for wheelchairs or not. There will be things like that taggable too. You can tag that as needed, as you have seen in the survey information. Now, onto the structure tab, we'll be choosing it as a room, because if we don't select room, it will not show up correctly. So as we have selected the room, selected the toilet to be the structure of the room of the building, when selected, we can proceed to the next step. So now we already have the new toilet as we already have the toilet marked as a room on OpenStreetMap. Now we are going to preview it to make sure it actually displays correctly in other places. This time we'll be using a tool that named Indoor Equal, which is available at indoorequal.org. We can simply click that preview button on the top right, and it will redirect us to the Indoor Equal website. This is how it will look like at Indoor Equal website. So we'll see that the feature that we have just added is now showing up correctly. So since this is already the intended result of us, now let's proceed to submitting to OpenStreetMap. So as usual, we can use the same process of submitting the data to OpenStreetMap. So we could be reviewing what we have changed and start writing the change set and telling what the source and where the data is from, and whether if you would like someone to review your edits. The steps are just like that editor on openstreetmap.org/edit, the same as ID editor. So this one is already looks great for us, and it will say thanks for your contribution. This is considered finished already. So this is just one room. So what if we actually finished a whole floor of a building? How would it look like? It will look like this. So this is the building of my university. This is the building that I actually study at almost every day. This is on the 8th floor. You will see that there are classrooms, there are elevators correctly tagged, there are toilets, and this is what the data should look like. Also, at another example, at Ksat Sat University, there's a library building. There will be places like many rooms in there. There are toilets, elevators, staircase, it should look like this. And you see that on indoorequal.org, you can even select the floors to be displayed. So this one actually has 9 floors on the left. You see that the floor that actually starts from 0, 1 up to floor 8. Floor 8 as in displayed on OpenStreetMap, and floor 9 as it marks on elevators. Because at the building itself, the ground floor is marked at floor number 1, while in OpenStreetMap it's actually floor 0, because OpenStreetMap starts from 0. And for that one too, that library building, there are actually 5 floors that we have data for. So that number 3 actually means the 4th floor as in marked on elevator and stairs. Okay, so now let's take a recap. The indoor building data, when made public, this can be useful in many cases, from helping visitors find things to aiding rescue teams in case of an emergency. So I demonstrated the process of acquiring the floor plans, how to process the images, and using OSM InEdit to input the data. So, well, since my graduation project is about AR for indoor navigation, which uses indoor data from OpenStreetMap, I have a small design concept on the right. One day we might use the OpenStreetMap indoor data to create something great like this, so we could stop getting lost in the buildings. What if we could make it countrywide? That would be something really useful for all of us. So thank you. Feel free to check out more cool stuff I made below. These are my website and these are my projects. Thank you. Any questions?
Aha.
Sure.
I don't seem to have a runner. Okay. I'll do it myself.
Hello. Have you thought about using LiDAR scanners on the phone as a way to help with the AR navigation?
Pardon?
LiDAR or LiDAR scanners?
LiDAR, well, apparently not all devices have it.
No, but you should have it on the iPhone, right? So you can use it to scan the indoor areas with the...
Yeah, we already looked into LiDAR, but as of our equipment only consists of Android phones, we don't have access to that yet.
I see. Okay, no problem.
But maybe something to consider in the future.
Okay, thanks. Thank you.
Thank you.
Just before I take any more, is Dylan J in the room? Can you please set up your slides? Right. Any more? Aha. Can you please set up now?
Hi. Hello. Hi. First of all, thank you. I'm also an OpenStreetMap contributor with thousands of edits, but indoor is particularly hard. So now at least I discovered some tools. I was wondering whether you ever get help from the owners or the management of the mall or whatever you are mapping. So is there any case in which maybe some of these structures wants you to have mapping because it could bring people to them? So.
Could you say it again a little slower?
Sorry. I was wondering if you ever get help or support by the owners of the building, like the mall. So is there anyone helping you?
Well, most of the time I do it all by myself and no support from the actual owners.
It's guerrilla mapping. Unsanctioned. Great.
About maybe 10 years back, I remember there was this sort of technology that was being advertised called Indoor Atlas or something like that, and they were using Wi-Fi signals and reflections to try and work out very accurately where you are in a building. And I never heard of it since. I wonder if that never worked, or are you aware of that? Or
That's the topic of my graduation project that we just researched a few months back. Here's the problem. In some buildings, such as the building that we use for development, which is my university's building, there are too few access points in there to be accurate. And with the changing things like chairs moving around, furniture moving around, that really impacted the accuracy. From our test, there are like 6 or 7 meters of inaccuracy, and that's way too much to work in real life. It depends on the building too.
Right. Any others? Going once. Going twice. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. So we have about 10 minutes. Is that right? Hang on, what's going on? Yes, there it is. We have about 10 minutes. So we'll take a pause and back at 2 p.m.
I don't know if anyone, by any rare chance, has a laser pointer in the audience. No one has a laser pointer? No? Okay. Just checking. Mashari, you must have a laser pointer. No? Okay. Just checking.
Welcome back. We now have Dylan J from Pretagov, who's going to offer us some actual data on whether FOSS is losing ground to SAS. Thank you, Dylan. Take it away.
Okay, thank you everyone for coming. So who am I? Other than my name, I'm the CTO of Pretagov. We are a software house, digital consultancy. We've been around for over 18 years. We do web, we do AI, we do search. We work in a bunch of different markets, particularly Australia and UK, and some in Thailand. Some people who are local may know me from, I bootstrapped the PyCons here, and I run the local Python user group. So what this talk is not about is actually, there's been some excellent talks all about things like, the restricted open source licenses and how SAS is not contributing. So if you're expecting that kind of talk, go back and watch some of the others. It's not about that. It's going to be more about this particular market. It's going to be a lot about developer experience, DX, user experience, and why some people pick some software over others. What is a CMS? So a lot of people will know WordPress, but I'm going to talk about what the process is of how a website mostly gets built these days. So you'll have a client, say. The client will, in most cases, go to some kind of digital agency. It might be internal development team, but the process is roughly the same. And the first thing they'll probably talk about is design and requirements and integrations and so on. Come up with some kind of design or design system. Then that will give given to a specialist CMS developer, and that CMS developer will have a tool in their back pocket, which will be their favorite CMS that they know inside out. So WordPress would be the most popular. Then what they do is they take that CMS and they customize it. It becomes a kind of conjoined thing. It becomes a version of WordPress for that particular customer in a way. Then you'll have an editor who will then supply the words and the content, and that becomes the final website that you see. It gets maintained over time, and that maintenance process is upgrading and reintegrating and changing the theme and putting security patches and so on. I'm going to talk about some other ways that CMS works, but this is like the most common way that it works now.
Guys, can we have a little less background? Thanks very much.
So last year we did this machine learning project, and what we did was we scraped about 9,000 websites information, the history of those websites from a UK government register. So take, for example, Raspberry Pi Foundation's one that people might know, which is a non-profit registered in the UK. And we managed to get history like this, which said, like, here's the, they were 2 years on Contentful, there was 7 years on WordPress. This is the history of their entire website in one line. We got some extra information about style changes and so on. In the register, there's information about their last year's income, which is surprisingly a lot. We also scraped information on how big the website was, like how many pages are in the website. And we used that information to come up with a prediction on if in 6 to 12 months they will change their technology. And for this particular example, 86%. So if anyone is here next year, and I happen to be here next year, and they have or have not changed their website, it'll be interesting to find out. So come this year, we're in the process of we've done a sort of proof of concept for our own headless CMS. And we were kind of interested in this idea of like, well, there's all this hype, there's all this stuff put out by mostly SaaS vendors for headless CMS, saying that headless CMS is the future and everyone is adopting it and so on. And it's like, how do you see through that hype? So this is an example of one particular group that did some research. And there's lots and lots of examples of that on the web. So if only there was an accurate data set, and I realized, okay, we do have kind of this data set. So I put it together and I came up with this graph here. So I'm going to explain a little bit the meaning of these different groupings. There are other data sets out there. There's W3C text and built with and stuff, but they don't categorize the different styles of CMS, and they also don't go back nearly as far in history as this. So the very first thing you'll notice is that headless CMS is a lot smaller than the hype would have you believe, but it is growing. And then the next thing I really realized is, well, open source is going down, which is super interesting. And it's kind of getting, the only things that are growing here are these site builders and headless CMS. And that's what I want to talk about. So let's understand a little bit more about these categories, right? So offline CMS is basically Dreamweaver front page. That's all the stuff of how the web used to be built, 15 years ago, as you can see in that graph. And this is what the top 10 looks like there. And it doesn't really exist today. So open source CMS, now, when I'm defining open source CMS, what I'm talking about is that deployment model that I talked before. It's where the code gets deployed separately. It's not a SaaS service. It is that monolith, what's called in the headless world, monolithic architecture. It gets combined together. So WordPress is probably the best example. And this is the top 10 for, at least for this particular market, right? This is UK non-profits. And as you can see, it is going down overall, but and pretty much everyone except for WordPress and Umbraco, which is interesting. I think because Umbraco is like one of the only games in town for .NET open source CMS. So licensed CMS is really the same architecture. It's not any different. It's just that you have to pay for a license. It's not open source. So things like SharePoint and, well, there's the example, right? So Expression Engine, which is now open source, but wasn't for most of its lifetime. And again, all of that's going down, interestingly, except for Craft CMS, which is an interesting point. I think, I'm not entirely sure why Craft CMS is kind of going up. I think from understanding, talking to people who use it, I think it's very, very developer friendly. It gets out of the way of the presentation layer, and that's why it's particularly popular. Also, it has a very cheap license. So, site builders. Site builders, I think, people would know things like Squarespace and Wix. And the difference there is you're probably talking about smaller organizations. You go online, you do the design or pick the design yourself and customize it. So you as an organization are both the designer and the editor and the person who procures it. So I have included things like WordPress.com, which is basically the SaaS version. And this is quite interesting with regard to like this particular market, because not only do you have the obvious ones like Squarespace and Wix, but there's a lot of verticals in there, right? There are like tiers, I think is a school one, there's a charity one, there's a lot of church-only ones, there's these very verticals, and that's something that is kind of coming into that market. And if you're a church, you don't want to pay a lot, and you'll find having it look like other church websites, and have got a bunch of extra added functionality that's specific to that market. So headless CMS. So headless CMS, I think, is really categorized by the fact that the developers have more freedom. The presentation layer is separated. Sorry. Okay, so you have the client, you have the designer, you have the design, but then that'll be given to a front-end developer, which is a different kind of developer, maybe less specialized because they know a bunch of different front-end technologies, not just the CMS. And they will build this front-end, say Next.js or something. But that is a separate deployment and has a separate life cycle from the CMS part. And that may be SaaS. A lot of headless CMS is SaaS. It can be open source, like Strappy or headless WordPress or something like that. But either way, the upgrade cycle of how those go forward is different. You can upgrade the CMS part separately, and you don't have to rebuild the front end for that. The content editors will be interfacing with the CMS part, not with the front end. Now, if it is open source, you can get a developer to go and customize the admin UI. If you want to add extra functionality, often you'll use a microservice, another deployment that'll be separate. And all of this is like, okay, it looks more complicated, right? You've got more boxes sitting there. It looks like it's worse. But this is from a very good book. If you want to, I thoroughly recommend this book. It's The Law of Divergence, and basically it's saying that all technology gets better by separating to separate things. Like combos don't really work. So this is showing my age here a little bit, but the combination VHS, DVD, TV did not last very long. The flying car doesn't exist because you're just going to have a worse car and a worse plane, right? And if one part breaks, then you've got an even worse car, right? A very expensive car, maybe. So the headless market, again, it is a very small part of the segment, but it is rapidly growing. And you can kind of see that, especially in that last 5-year period, that's changed quite a bit, right? It's kind of slow uptake, and then it's really taken off recently. So I did kind of neglect part of that. When I was talking about the CMS market, what I'm talking about is the detected CMSs. There is this other line, see this orange line here, which is this unknowns. So that's things that I could not detect. And that is mostly going to be custom sites, or it's going to be small agencies with their own CMS that they only do for them. In there will be maybe undetected CMSs that I couldn't work out how to detect, and possibly actually headless CMSs themselves are quite hard to detect sometimes. So that's possibly a little bit unrepresented. So that's what I kind of said there. One interesting question is okay, is it representative of the web in general, right? So if you look at W3C Text, that's what it says is the market share at the moment. This is what I say is the market share at the moment. It's not too different. Interesting, Drupal is a little bit higher than the general web. Maybe that's because it's a bit more of a content-centric market. I mean, there are differences. There's going to be less e-commerce. There's going to be less Shopify than the normal web. But it's also better in some ways as a sample because there's no spam sites, right? It's coming from a government register. There's one website per organization. So it kind of is maybe a better representation in some ways. There's probably more of those vertical site builders than the general web. This is just if you're interested in how it was done and what we included and what we didn't include. So what's the conclusions from all this? My hot takes on this, my personal opinion. So again, like I said, the blue line, the site builders, definitely taking a chunk out of the market, right? The only other one going up is the headless CMS. So my idea of why this is happening, I think, is that you have. So if we look at this axis here, right? So we've got the more custom sites, the bigger budget, where branding matters, and more content on one end. And then we have down the other end, the kind of lower budget, less custom sites. And then we've got this sort of, good developer experience at the bottom, less hassle versus worse for the developers and ops and so on at the bottom. So the monolithic architecture, the open source and the licensed CMS, it covers a broad range. It can go up to very customized, down, particularly with some of the site builder stuff on the open source, down to quite simple sites. But it comes at a cost. It's a reasonable amount of work to maintain. It's a reasonable amount of work to set up. Whereas you've got the site builders coming in at the sort of lower end, but it's much less hassle. In fact, the best kind of developer experience is no developer at all, which is what a site builder is. So that's very easy to get going. And then headless CMS is more work, but it gives the developers more freedom. And maintenance-wise, ongoing ops, it is less hassle. And that's sort of taking that custom space, I think. And I think AI is going to accelerate this stuff. So AI is going to make the site builders more custom, and AI is going to make the headless CMS easier to build, quicker to build. So this is one particular quote from a client who went from a open source CMS to a headless CMS, and why they did. And it's just because they didn't want to have to deal with the updates and hosting it themselves and all that stuff. But that's anecdotal. You can go back to data and see that the data shows the same thing. So this axis along the bottom, this is percentile of income. It's no longer time. So top 20% up there, you can see that headless in the top 20% of the sites with the higher income in the last year, and that's kind of a proxy for how much money they might care about branding, how much money they might spend. So you can see that licensed definitely goes up with the income goes up. They're willing to spend a bit more money. Open source stays the same, but the site builder, kind of the blue line, that goes down. And really, it's only at the top end, which is interesting. Maybe they're early adopters. They're picking up the headless CMS. But if we take the page count, right, the size of the site, there you can see it more dramatically, right? Perhaps because the size of the site means that you need better content management features, UX, and that's more mature in I think, the open source CMS at the moment. So that goes up as the page count goes up. The headless CMS definitely goes up, and the site builder kind of goes down. So it's kind of showing that this is the case. So to answer the original question, is open source losing to SaaS? Yes, definitely not at the moment, but over time it will be, except for WordPress. But WordPress, I think, if you look at that graph, it's not flatlining yet, but the growth has definitely slowed. It's starting to lose ground, I think. And I think, so I think the fact that WordPress is no longer growing to the same extent is perhaps one explanation you see for the arguments around the controversy around WordPress at the moment. Like, it's a VC-backed company, they need to grow, they're no longer growing, so they're starting to attack its own community, and maybe that's one explanation of what's going on there. And definitely licensed CMS is a kind of a dead end. But one thing I didn't really touch on is that open source definitely has a niche. It has a very important role in this. It's never going to disappear. You have issues like data sovereignty, where you don't want to put it on a SaaS service, high security, things like intranets, again, where you worry about where the data is, where you need to customize that editing experience, which you can't do with, say, a headless CMS or like a SaaS headless CMS or a site builder. But I think that going forward, the headless market for open source, which I included within the headless, included both open source and SaaS, is going to grow more. UX, I think, matters too. Like, I've talked a lot about developer experience. I think the things of how a CMS is chosen. So actually, I was going to reverse this. So these top two, I think, maybe the organization preferences, things like cost and security and their tech stack, that's probably the number one reason why a CMS gets chosen. Then probably developer preference, particularly, they may not care. They may just go and like, okay, who's cheapest? And then an agency has their preferred CMS, and that's what they end up with. And that's been my experience. And user experience, like the editing experience, actually comes down much lower in the stack, in the hierarchy of preferences. But it's a differentiator, right? If I'm an agency, I want to sell a CMS that's going to be easy to use, that people aren't going to come back to me and say, why can't I do this? Why can't I do that? So it is really important from that point of view. And generally, like, I think the thing with open source is that it doesn't always make good user interfaces, and that's because of the scratch your own itch, right? Because developers, when they in order to scratch your own itch, you have to be a developer. Therefore, you only understand developer needs. You don't understand, not many people that I know who build CMSs actually edit using CMSs. And so they're actually not that good at understanding an editor's problems. And for this reason, I think that, SaaS, single companies that have designers that can be kind of forced on developers tend to make better UX. And community open source is not as good as it should be. And headless CMS actually has its own issues with usability, because it wasn't so obvious, but you don't have as much of a kind of a WYSIWYG interface. You often get these forms and so on. It's kind of, because it's decoupled, what you edit and what you see is not the same thing. And that's one problem we're trying to solve with our CMS. And that's it. Any questions?
Oh, just before we do, is Kim Bros in the room? Looking for Kim Bros? No Kim Bros. All right. Oh, there you go. Could you please sort out your slides? No rush. We've got 12 minutes, so, but just... Okay, so, questions for Dylan? You have covered the topic so completely, there is nothing left to ask. I thought that was interesting. I think I'd sort of taken for granted that the sort of relentless march of SaaS would mean that those curves would tend to look one way. And so I'm surprised they're actually not as pronounced as perhaps I had expected.
I think one thing about this market is that it's a slow-moving market, right? You can't just go and replace that piece of software that quickly, right? It's especially if you're talking about you've got the agency knowledge, the developer knowledge on how to build the site. That changes quickly, slowly, and then organizations on average is about 5-6 years when they change technologies. There's that kind of lag that's in there.
It's not like buying a sandwich. There's a deep knowledge at both ends. Ah. Oh, thank you.
One thing that's interesting is the switchover of technology with headless CMS is faster. It's easier to switch out, which is something I noticed in the data.
I was just curious, you've got a line for open source and a different line for headless, but headless might be open source as well.
Yeah, I combine them together. I mean, it's a small kind of market, and in actual fact, I didn't touch on this, but it's actually even harder to detect open source, self-hosted headless CMS than it is to detect the SES ones are easy because they point to a very contentful URL. But if it's say Strappy or something like that, it's actually reasonably hard with the way I'm detecting it, where I'm scraping like a single page and not running JavaScript and so on to actually work it out. So I do know of like examples of Strappy sites and WordPress sites that are headless that aren't detected in there. At the same time, I was a little more liberal. I was like anything that was Next.js or Nuxt.js, I assumed it was headless. So yeah, so I didn't separate those two. I could separate those two, but it would make it even smaller. So when I'm talking about headless on open source on that graph, take it as meaning monolithic architecture open source.
Hi, Dylan. You mentioned the fact that WordPress is VC-backed, is going to contribute to its kind of plateauing. But WordPress is ostensibly split up into WordPress.org and then the for-profit WordPress.com. So how do you reconcile? Are you saying that both are VC-backed essentially?
So I was particularly talking about what is it, Matt Mullenberg or whatever his name is, like his sort of comments and stuff, and maybe that's a little bit why there's this frustration and tension there. Like why they're going, okay, so there's people breathing down his back maybe, and they're asking a question about where's the growth going to come from now, and then you look at WordPress, WP Engine or whatever it is, and you go, they're taking our money. So I wasn't talking about the growth of WordPress with regard to that. I was just saying the controversy is maybe because the growth is slowing.
Okay, noted. Thanks.
Oh, right. Once the rate of cash injections stops climbing, then everyone switches to optimizing.
Yeah.
At which point, yeah, okay.
I think it was the Basecamp guys, the Ruby guys, who said like VC is like having a time bomb strapped to your back. It's like if you stop growing or whatever, then it's going to blow up, right? It's a real problem if you take VC money. So. Okay, any other questions, or if anyone's interested in getting work done by us, let us know. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Very leisurely schedule this afternoon. We had sessions with no gaps this morning. So this is like, what do I do exactly? 8 minutes. So take your time. Oh, that's it. Wow. Okay. Good. All right. Through our thumbs through that. Yeah. I'm running more or less to schedule because people moving between rooms. My guys. This morning we had sessions sometimes it's difficult to make a schedule. So a little bit of like just nudge that one a few minutes that way and squeeze that a bit to push it and it works. This is Father's volunteering for yes. Part of the teams is the first one in Singapore in 2015. Most of the MCs are part of the organization. So it's just a matter of. No matter what we planned. This is who we have to untangle to. Other people. The first and video guys are incredible, but this is not their problem. So widgets and bots for Matrix. It's really cool. It's on that list of things I really need to get into using. What I actually want to do. Personally, 10 apps here tracking me. Adverse interoperability. Okay, fine. And then your actual apps and perhaps feeling more attractive. Less spends. Okay, welcome back. Next up, we have Kim Brose, a contributor to the Matrix project, who's going to talk to us about pimping Matrix.
Indeed. Hello, welcome to tuning your chat. I want you to learn today how you can tune your chat by enhancing Matrix with widgets, bots, and much more. Just quickly about myself. My name is Kim, also known online as Howlings on GitHub, on Matrix, and so on. I'm generally free and Libre open software and also self-hosting nerd. So if you're interested in that, you can also come talk to me. But my focus topic really is Matrix, since I discovered it in early 2017. I've been running my own home server for my community of family and friends. Since then, dove very deep into the whole Matrix ecosystem and am currently employed as a Matrix software architect at a small German company doing custom development for anything related to the Matrix ecosystem. And at the same time, I'm still an active community member. So one thing I like to do is Matrix community events. I'm part of the organization as well of the Matrix conference and similar. And yeah, also happy to be here and representing Matrix on the exhibition floor, just outside the room, down the hallway to the left. And finally, I'm also representing the Matrix community on the Matrix Foundation Governing Board. So if you're interested in talking about open governance for open source software or open networks and so on, then please also do come talk to me. But enough about myself. I want to talk today about how you can tune your chat on Matrix. So you might not be familiar yet with what Matrix is, so I want to just give a very brief overview. It's an open network for secure, decentralized communication, and with being an open network comes also a bit more. But it means you can use it on your PC, on your iPhone, your Android phone, all kinds of platforms. Even there's clients for KaiOS and Ubuntu mobile phones with web clients, native clients, all kinds of languages you can't imagine. And there are also other use cases possible. It goes even down, it starts at chat and it gets crazy from there. I'm going to show a bit about it during this talk, and you can do much more, such as even IoT applications. So, Matrix is a federated network. What's that mean? You can see here are 3 servers in the circles, and there are some users. So, for example, here is the red Alice user, and at the top here is the green Bob user. And they are on different servers. One's on matrix.org, another is on mozilla.org, but still they can communicate with each other. It's a federated network. It's also decentralized. That means the chat room here in the middle, that's not owned and controlled by a single server, but all the servers that participate in it. So all of matrix.org, mozilla.org, and example.org are part of this room, and the room exists in the cyberspace cloud somewhere, abstract. But that means if one server disappears, say, for example, matrix.org has some kind of issues and goes down for a bit, Bob from Mozilla and Daisy from Example can still continue to chat and use this room. It's also end-to-end encrypted. That's a built-in feature, so we have a high security for your message contents. I already touched that it's an open standard, so that means first of all, it's available to everyone to read and implement their own software based on this technology, but also it's possible to contribute back, similar how you can contribute to open source software. It's also an open network. That means you can just start hosting your own server, such as this example.org. Maybe you want to start your own server after this talk. And then you can communicate with everybody else in the Open Federation. There were yesterday and also on Thursday already some more talks about Matrix, so check out the recordings afterwards. Jan gave a quick more detailed actually than this overview about what all you can do with Matrix, and Nadine talked a lot about interoperability and what's possible with Matrix. But now, I want to talk how you can enhance this chat experience. So this is my focus for this talk, and to do so, I bought some demos for you. The first I want to talk about is an app or an extension called Hookshot. So, as a human, we might call these things in a chat integration, because it hooks into your chat and then it gives it additional features, automation and similar. From the technical side, in the Matrix standard, this is a software we would call an application service. Why is that? That is because it's basically it's an authenticated microservice extension to the home server. So we have down here, you remember the example.org home server, and now we have also set up and connected the Hookshot application service to it. And so these are secured, and they use a special API to communicate. And so this way the Hookshot application service is able to use some advanced bot functions if you want to translate it to terms from, you might know, from another network. Demo time. This is an Element client, and I'm going to create a new room. I'm going to name it Hookshot Demo, and here we are. And then I'm going to invite to this room my Hookshot bot. There it goes. And now I can start talking to this bot. For example, I can ask it for some help. Hookshot, what can you do? Show us. Yeah, so as you can see, it depends on the configuration which services you enable. In my case, I have enabled the GitHub integration, the GitLab integration, the generic webhooks, and also the feeds service. But to actually use them, I mean, I can just show you. Let's use or let's create a webhook. Like this, I think, and now it will tell you, oh, well, sorry, to be able to do this, I need some more rights, so I have to promote it to a room moderator, because yeah, it needs this special access level. And try again, and now you see we got a bad reaction before, and now we got a small tick box, so room is now configured to bridge webhooks, yay. Something else it tells me, see the admin room for secret URL. So the first time you do this, it will invite you to a direct message, and in there you receive the also secret URL for your webhook. Let's copy that. And now we can use this. I will paste it into my terminal at the bottom here. And I have prepared a curl command. It's really simple. Copy, paste. So you can see I'm just curling some, I hope you can see, some JSON payload, and I will send it to the link that Hookshot told me to use. Boom. Here's a new webhook user. It's automatically created. And it tells us, hey, we received some webhook data. It's a message, and it says, hello, FOSSASIA. But it doesn't stop here, so you can use most of the Matrix integrations and bots using this type of commands. But there's actually something else, something nice you can do. We have the option to Hookshot setup dash widget. And now it tells us, please open the widget. That depends on your client where it is exactly. In Element Web, it is here under the name of extensions. We continue. And now we have this small visual control panel here. And if we look at the inbound generic webhooks, we can see, oh, here's our demo webhook. We can do some more with it. So we've just seen, it just dumps the raw JSON here. But that's, that can be useful already. But we can do even more with it. So we have this option here to enable the transformation JavaScript and also the response. And it will fill in an example, but I prepared a different example for today. Again, copying and pasting. I will increase the size a bit so you can read it. We basically, the essential part of such a script is to have the result variable, and it requires this version. And then we can set some data. So we use the input data as this variable from our webhook down here. And then we use the, we can set some fields. So this is the plain output text. We can also output HTML formatted text. We can determine the message type, and we can even determine what the response is supposed to look like. Let me fix this quickly. Message and message. We save that. Whoop. Let's remove the expiration date. We can see here there's a hidden debugging event that tells us, okay, that was saved. And now if we try this again, fingers crossed. Woo. Okay, so this part on the right-hand side here, we call it a widget, and I want to talk a bit more about that. That is my next topic. What the hell is a widget? I try to put it in simple terms. It's an embeddable extensions for your client that can implement specialized use cases. So right now we had a widget that enabled us to configure this hookshot integration webhook. And how do you create such a widget? Technically, they are just web pages, JavaScript applications, but the interesting thing is there is an API, the widget API, supported by some clients. So sadly, not a lot of clients do offer it yet. Element Web is one of them. GoMax is another. But those clients that support it, they offer this widget API, and the widget API enables the widget page to talk to the Matrix client. And by that means, they can use your Matrix account to send messages, receive messages, and these can be text messages like we've just seen Hookshot send, but they can also be technical messages that you don't necessarily see in your chat client, but it's still using the same infrastructure. So I brought you the Neo board as an example for a widget. This is something we develop at work. And it looks like this. You have the chat room. Again, this is the Element client. And inside of it, there's now embedded this NeoBoard widget, which can show my presentation. And actually, this is not supported by all the clients. I have to go back here and enable the collaboration editing mode. Because it's embedded with Matrix, we have the ability to use Matrix both for storage and for communication. And in this widget, we have a bunch of features. You can see we can see other people's cursors. This is how it's collaborative, and you can see it. It's so fast it even moves. And with the collaboration mode enabled, it even allows other people to draw stuff on your presentation or your slides. We have all kinds of shapes. You can even upload images or PDFs. Right. And if I'm going to decrease the size a bit here. We can see in the chat there are a lot of hidden events. So if we enable in the settings to in the developer tools, we can enable showing hidden events in Element. And there we can see in the chat there are all these special hidden events which are not displayed by default, only in developer mode. And yeah, this is the proof how we can use Matrix for both chat applications. So I can also write here at the same time as also storing the whiteboard data. But it doesn't end here. I mean, you have seen this is these are my slides here. I'm using this tool. You can also use it standalone. So this is the same software basically running in a standalone mode. So that means your Matrix client, it can be, and it often is, a chat client. But we can also go and develop a non-chat client, which, for example, in this case, is this whiteboard. I'm going to disable the editing again. It's getting a bit crazy here. And finally, yeah, you saw we could see the collaborators working on the same whiteboard in real time. So Matrix even has support for its flavor of WebRTC. We call it Matrix RTC. So you can do both the chat level of real-time communication, but also like the video calling level of real-time communication. Next slide. Simple Matrix Botlib is a project, again, it speaks for itself. Thanks to being such an open ecosystem and standard, Matrix has also a rich SDK ecosystem. And you can find most of the SDKs if you go to the matrix.org website, to the ecosystem SDKs tab. And Simple Matrix Botlib is one such SDK for creating bots in Matrix. And with this, you can write a bot in just about 10 lines of code. So if you look at the documentation of this, yeah, there are a lot of examples actually how to do things. And they are all really short in terms of code anyway. So it takes away all the boilerplate. And I also can give you a demo of this. So for example, I have a bot. If I go and copy some nasty link that contains a lot of parameters, and then well, let's just invite the bot here. Zoop. Close the panel. So say that you have this bot and you send a message with a URL and it contains a lot of parameters. Maybe you don't even realize. This bot will detect if there's some tracking parameter and it'll remove it for you, so anybody receiving the message doesn't have to go through all the tracking. Yeah, if you want to find out more about this, you can read the docs at Read the Docs. And to finish up, tune your chat. I do this talk or similar workshops frequently at conferences, also especially at the Matrix conference. So yeah, I want you to tune your chat and integrate your use case with Matrix, your other application, your third-party service. I want also to hear about your use case, and for that I've started to publish my collections of things people told me about on this GitHub IO hosted page. Let's look at that quickly. You might recognize the look. It's a fork of the Matrix homepage, and it adds the Tune Your Chat ecosystem subcategory, where you can find my collection of funny plugins, but also guides and bots and less known SDKs, and also just ideas. And you can filter by a lot of things if you're looking for a certain license, if you're looking for a certain language like Bash or German or JavaScript. or for certain type of feature, maybe you're interested in monitoring things, so you can select the Grafana and you will find the Grafana to matrix forwarder. So yeah, I'm looking forward to hear what you explore, what you find, and what you build, and to integrate. So please check out the website. And that will be it from me. Enter the Matrix, find us on the exhibition floor, go to matrix.org, try Matrix, support us at matrix.org membership, and see you soon.
Thank you, Kim. We've got time for some Q&A. Do we have our mic runners? do you have a microphone?
Your choice. The hookshot chat again. Which one is it? This one? You mean this one? Well done, well done.
Just while we're doing Q&A, I believe I have 6 lightning talks. Any of the lightning talk speakers, can you please sort of queue up over here somewhere? Hopefully there are 6 of you in the room. Any more questions or, hacks?
Question. So, in the beginning, you showed that there was a network already established from Mozilla, Matrix, and Example. So let's imagine I host my own server. Can I enter this network and start sending messages to those places, or they need to acknowledge me and do some kind of trust relationship first? How does that work?
Yes, Matrix is an open network, first and foremost. And there's this open federation, which anybody can simply join by setting up their own server. It's also possible to create a closed federation. So there are some organizations who use both the federation feature, but also limit it. So for example, several state actors within Germany, several government agencies, they each have their own local instance or local home server, like one of these circles. But at the same time, they want to talk to each other, at least under certain conditions. And therefore, they define something like an allow list that says, okay, we only federate with you, 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 and you, a formally known list by some kind of authentication method. And so that's possible as well. But the core of Matrix is that there's this open, global, federated network. You can simply join by creating your own server and behaving friendly.
Yeah. Then, based on the example you just saw, like, is there examples where people may join a network and just throw spams and create some problems? Like, what type of defenses we have about that?
Mm-hmm. Yes, naturally. That is always an issue with open networks. I guess most of you also receive email regularly.
Very regularly, yes.
Email, and some of it is explicitly spam, the other is just annoying. I have here somewhere about moderation attack, I think. Yes, there it is. So we have some moderation tooling, and these also contain documentation on how to do it at different levels. So there are plugins for your home server to prevent something outright, and also this is like you can block all home servers, similar to the closed federation I explained. And then there are bots that will manage blocking certain users. There's shared block lists, so we also have technical matrix rooms that contain what we call policy lists. Basically, there's a bunch of hidden messages that say, okay, we know this user ID, they behaved badly as a spammer, for example, and then your drop near bot, for example, this one, can subscribe to this room or to the list in this room, and then it will automatically block and remove these users from any rooms you set it up to manage.
We could probably sneak in one more before I start trying to wrangle the lightning talkers. Anyone else? Going one final. One more over here.
What is your presentation software? What is my presentation software? Yes, I use the NeoBoard right here. So NeoBoard is both the available as the embedded widget I showed in the Element client. but it's also possible to run it in the standalone mode, and yeah, you can do nice presentations with them.
And is it open source?
Currently, the core of it is open source. We have the widget mode. We developed it for, like I think I explained, we developed this application at my workplace. And which one is this one, is it? So the widget mode is something we developed for a customer who is actually relying on it being open source. It's a hard requirement. And we started developing the standalone mode as well, and we hope we can find customers so we are able to finance it while also publishing it at open source, but it's currently not final.
Thank you. Awesome. Thank you very much. Right, now we do the thunderstorm. 6 lightning talks back to back. If the following in the room, could you please step forward? Aman Singh, Sho Akinaya, Sonyadeep Ghosh, Susi ML, Kanchan Batharaya, Withit Pusataya, I'm sorry, I can't pronounce that, and Pitiwat Tavikit, something else. Any of those people, please step forward. Ah, okay. You want to use a laptop in a lightning talk? You upload your slides? Yes. Oh, okay. So you can also use. You can. Really terrible idea. So, so you are. Hang on. We have the link. Yeah, so we've got access to Event Day on the schedule on the thing, and also the Google Drive should be in either of those. So are you Aman and Sho, is that right? Correct. Right, if you guys want to grab the stage, I would discourage, if you can find it either in Google Drive or on the schedule, please do that, because we've got to run you one after the other. Right. Hello. You're Shruti? Wonderful. Hey, no, come back. Come back. I want you in order. This is going to be a fairly rapid turn. So, oh, you're Richie. Oh, right, you're near the end. Okay, question more time. Yeah. So the key, you can either fetch from Google Drive or perhaps more usefully, which does have a manual step in it, or if it's visible in the schedule, which it should be, then just fetch from there with the latest version of that. The key to go to your separate page. Otherwise, you end up messing around with maps. The screen can tell it. Sorry.
You're going to have to send it to your personal, make a copy and share that, because you can't share this with anybody.
Can I just send a PDF?
Yeah, or like if their machine, you can give it access to their account. So you can give it access to a single account.
Okay.
You've uploaded a private URL.
Yes.
Yeah. So
we'll just share it to your account.
Is there any way to add the account that's connected to this Google?
Just make a public link.
We can't. Our organization like locks it, so it'll take a second for us to like transfer it to like another account and make a copy and do a whole thing.
Yeah, I'll just send you the PDF.
Export a PDF and upload
Yeah.
it.
We can start with a different page. I should be finished.
I just upload the PDF to the session.
Thanks for the patience, Roland.
No problem. I'm a little bit concerned about doing 6 sessions back to back with no breaks.
Yes.
Like,
Okay. Yeah.
this is going to go bad.
Well, you have the hard job of stringing all the badness together. So good luck.
To be fair, this morning was also challenging. We had overlapping sessions.
Overlapping
Submitted.
sessions.
Can you check?
Yes.
Okay, so,
This is,
so you guys have 2 minutes.
I can make it mine.
that's all right. That I feel like perfect.
Still have like 1 minute. It's 59.
Yeah, wait 1 minute.
Yeah, we're gonna
There we go.
play with it a bit. So the way we do this to make it look at least possible is an unbelievable number of steps, but it works.
Where?
There we go.
There we go.
One, two. Okay. So this is Fiddly that needs to be. Please make sure you've got your slides uploaded, because otherwise we have to jump around. So first up for this sequence of lightning talks this afternoon, we have Aman Singh from Macquarie and Sho Akiyama, also from Macquarie, to talk about fine-tuned SIGLIP. I will let you explain.
Hello, everyone. I'm Sho Akiyama from the ALM team at Mercari. I'm an engineer, and also we have Aman Singh here. He's from the ML platform team at Mercari. He's also an engineer. We're here to talk about the how we fine-tuned a multimodal model called SIGLIP for improving our image-based recommendations for our marketplace. And as an agenda for this quick lightning talk, we're gonna do a quick introduction what the marketplace is, and then we're gonna go into like how we fine-tuned the model and how we deployed the model, care of Aman, and then what's next. For the introduction, yes, a bit about our platform. Mercari is basically, we're a C2C marketplace app where users can buy and sell their own stuff. And yeah, I guess like you've also seen some of the other talks with the Mercari people as well. So yeah, we're not going to dive into detail there. And for the project background, basically, so in our item detail page, it's basically like when you open an item, for example, you would get recommendations, right? And one of the recommendations is called similar looks. So it's basically showing visually similar items in a grid like this, for example. So if you're looking at a ring, for example, with this brand called Ete, which is a Japanese brand, I think. It would show like similar looking items based on the model. And we would use an old like pre-trained model called MobileNet at the time. And it was pretty good. It was showing these types of items. But we thought, what if we fine-tuned like a multimodal model and used the image vision model there to try improving this? And when we did the online evaluations with an A/B test, we found out that, yeah, it did increase the tap rate by 1.5x. And also even the purchase count for the item detail page by 14%. So it was pretty solid. And yeah, basically this is how it looked like before. So many different teams would use different models for their own use cases. Some of them are similar, like image similarity, for example. And for this case, basically the recommendation team was using MobileNet, which is just the pre-trained version. And then we tried using we call it internally like Mercari SIGLIP, because it was trained on like image and text pairs from our listings, basically. And then when we fine-tuned it, yeah, it was pretty straightforward. We were using mostly the GCP ecosystem. So it was, we were using Vertex AI pipelines for it. And even the ETL was done through BigQuery. And then, yeah, basically we just Dockerized both the fine-tuning, the training images, and also the evaluation images. And then we also monitored with weights and biases. Which you could easily visualize like how the training loss has been happening, for example. And even the evaluation part, like both for the offline quantitative and qualitative evaluation. So even the spreadsheet generation, it was all automated. And next on the deployment, here is Aman to speak about it.
Thank you, Sho, for the quick introduction. So for the deployment process, like we are using Triton Inference Server. And for those who are not aware, like Triton Inference Server is a open source tool provided by NVIDIA for like easier deployment of machine learning models. So currently we are running our models on L4 GPUs in GKE. And the reason is because like we want like the optimized performance and efficiency. And the one of the main point that it does is like it like supports multiple model formats like ONNX, TensorRT, PyTorch. And yeah, it also enables us to like add custom code on top of our models. So basically like the custom code also runs inside the container. So that's also a benefit for us. And other thing is like the custom code can run on CPU, whether like the model is running on GPU. So that increases our resource usage. Yeah. And this is the pipeline. So whenever like a listing happens in Mercari, the image comes to like the Triton server, and the pre-processing basically like sets the image proper to like for the SIGLIP model, and the image goes to like the SIGLIP vision model, and there we create the embeddings for post-processing. In the post-processing, we basically use PCA for dimension reduction, and then the final embeddings are like sent for image search, for indexing, and for similarity. Yeah, this is our like the whole architecture. If you want to take a look, like you can. Yeah, this is the project background.
Yes, just finishing up. So yeah, that's what we use for the
Promptly, please.
background. But yeah, thank you so much. And yeah, we wouldn't have done it without all these open source software. So we really thank everyone for this. And yeah, thank you so much. And yeah, this is the team. And thank you so much for listening. See you. Come to our booth, by the way.
Sunyadeep, are you in the room? Okay, and are your slides in event? Yeah? Yes. Fabulous. Oh, you need a microphone.
Oh, thank you.
I love organized people. Thanks, guys. If all else fails, that should be fine. Yeah, that's the other way. And if we have to, right? You know. In fact, yes, on one.
So, hello everyone. We at Snapcrafters use this tool, GHVF Control. This was initially created by Canonical's current VP, John Seeger and Marco Trevisan. So what we do basically is, as the name suggests, we use this to control VMs inside GitHub runners. And a small intro about this tool. So this is basically a utility to create and manipulate LXD VMs inside GitHub runners. This we use as a QA process. Like we take screenshots of GUI apps inside the CI pipelines and all. So how does it work? How we are able to take screenshots, or how we are able to fire up a VM, a desktop inside a GitHub CI, right? So we basically use LXD. We create a Ubuntu desktop VM inside with LXD, and then we prepare the DE, in this case GNOME, with all the things that needed. Then we use a wrapper script, that's GHVM control runner. We use that to execute the apps that we want to run and that we want to test. Then we take screenshots, like we may install the app if needed. We may remove something, or we may change or manipulate something. We may run custom scripts, and then we take screenshots. That's how we do it at Snapcrafters. We take full screenshots and active window screenshots, and then you can see in the next slide how we use it. We basically take the active window screenshots and full screen screenshots, and then we upload that as a GitHub artifact, and we commit it in a separate repository that we have in Snapcrafters. We store all our screenshots that we have taken of the apps that we are going to test and all. We have it in one repo, and then we create an issue based on with that screenshot, so that us volunteers can go and check it out and test the app on our own. And how basically this helps, one can easily check in your QA pipeline process that, okay, this app is running, this app is having no issue, or there is no error log or any debug log in the terminal when you are running it, or there is no crashing or anything, in just directly from your CI pipelines. And also this doesn't really need any extra special tools, and like you can already see the problem that why this is not running. And of course this is this is inside any CI/CD pipeline service that you are using. It can be GitHub, it can be GitLab, it can be any other service that you are using, Codebug maybe. And this might be a question to all of you, like why LXD, why you are using LXD? Simple, it's easy to manage, it's lightweight, efficient, and we can support both containers and VMs with LXD. And of course, like with LXD, it's very easy to create automated scripts, and we are able to scale the scripts, and we are able to like manipulate however we want to. There are APIs with LXD, REST APIs to manipulate the LXD containers and VMs. That's why LXD is our choice.
Your time.
Okay. So if you guys have any questions, you can shoot.
Yeah, not here, but later.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Trudy, you're up. This is the thunderstorm of lightning talks. Shrudi's going up. Kanchan Bhattaraya, are you here? Kanchan Bhattaraya? Not in the room? Aha, okay. Any maybe anybody got there to help? You can't find? Okay, let's do this. So. Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, request the access. Yeah, that we get it. The other way of fixing it. Oh, good work. So just back up and it should work. Hooray. Okay. Yes.
Hello, good morning everyone. Good afternoon everyone. I am Shruti ML. So if you're wondering, ML does not stand for machine learning. I am a software engineer in key value software systems. And I just enjoy making things. Yeah. So here I'm here to talk about the AI powered device that I made back in college. So it's a bit scrappy, if I may. So the idea was to essentially build a portable computer vision system that combines embedded ML principles, but I had to go for the cloud-based AI inference because I could not just get the hands on the right hardware for it. Yeah, so the core idea was to create something that could capture images, process them, and identify objects and display information all in one compact, portable form. So, yeah. So the system architecture I went for centers around two microcontrollers working in tandem, the ESP32 and the TNC microcontroller. So we used an ESP32 for wireless connectivity and a TNC for handling the camera interface and the display. So an obvious choice would be to go for a Raspberry Pi because it has all of this integrated in Raspberry Pi itself. But I went for TNC and ESP32 because it was just what I could get my hands around at the time. So the hardware pipeline begins with the image capture through the AutoCam module connected via I2C. The images are then processed by the TensorFlow Lite model, specifically the MobileNet V2, which is the best for mobile devices. So this model identifies objects in the images, and a Flask-based API retrieves relevant information about the object and displays the returns the information. Thank you. So the hardware implementation. So for the hardware implementation, we designed a custom PCB that integrates all the components. The AudiCam module communicates via I2C with the microcontroller, allowing us to trigger image capture with a physical button. We implemented thorough testing of the camera interface through the pixel clock transmission. One of the technical challenges was converting the image and transmitting image data, which we solved by encoding the image in a base64 format before sending them to our processing endpoint. So the software stack, we deployed a TensorFlow model using Keras, specifically optimizing the MobileNet V2 for our use case. This runs on a Flask server that exposes a REST API endpoint. When the device captures an image, it sends it to the endpoint where the model performs the inference to identify the object. Yeah, so the entire pipeline from the image capture to the information display takes around like 2 seconds.
You're almost at time.
Yeah, so this is the result. The object detection accuracy was around 90%, and the response time was around 2 seconds. And I could get everything displayed on the hardware in just 2 seconds. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much. Ken-chan, are you in the room? No, Ken-chan? No. In that case, we have an unscheduled lightning speaker with no slides who will have to introduce himself. Please thanks the unnamed speaker.
Hello, my name is not unnamed speaker, and my name is Sungjun Moon. And let me see my note for, I don't have much time, so yeah. Hello, I'm Sungjun Moon from South Korea, and what I want to talk today is, we are trying to make a free and open source community and organization in South Korea. Our goal is straightforward. So providing physical sponsorship for the Korean free and open source communities and boosting the free and open source software ecosystem in South Korea. And for that, we are also preparing a conference in South Korea. It will be held between September to November. It's not fixed, there's no fixed date yet, but we will announce it as soon as possible. It will be like a FOSSASIA like this, or like COSCUP in Taiwan, or FOSSDEM in Europe. But what I want to say today is, among these kind of conferences, we have similar goal and purpose, especially we have same problem to solve. So what I want to propose is like, we can have more collaboration between our like FOSS4All, my organization, and FOSSASIA, and the FOSSDEM and COSCUP, and solve the problems together and make the less duplicated problems. Yeah. So if you have questions or like anything, you can just go into that URL or just contact to us. Thank you.
Thank you. And we are always thrilled to see other FOSS communities in the region. So thanks very much. Unbelievably, we're ahead of schedule. Do you want to at least get your slides up? While that's happening, Pitawat, Tavik, I can't pronounce the rest of that. Pitawat, are you in the room? No? No Pitawat? All right. It's on the arrows to the right. Yep. All right. I'm okay for you to start. It's okay.
Hello. Okay, it's working now. Great. So good afternoon, everyone. So my name is VT. You can also call me Lukit, which is my Thai nickname. And today I'm going to talk about open source for democracy. But first, let me introduce where I come from. So I'm from the organization called VWIS. We are civic technology company, so we use technology to like enable citizen engagement, participation, and relationship between the people. I think what related to us today is the first 2 points because we did a lot about open data and also digital to development. Let me show you some example of our work. So first we have a Bangkok election 2 or 3 years ago. So we did a map of the result of the election on that time and show the data to anyone who interested in the election. Then we also have do another election database website that people can come and understand their representative and how to go to the election and a lot of useful stuff. We also focus on the Thailand national budget where you can explore how our government allocate the budget to each institute, to each organization, and also related to which keyword. And then I think this is our biggest project nowadays called Parliament Watch. So we do collect and display the data relating to the parliament. For example, who are in the government, who are the political party, who are the representative, and what they are voting in the parliament, so you can track them and understand what's going on. I'm not sure if anyone see our work before in this room. Anyone see our work before? Oh, nice. Wow, that's great. And I came here today because every project we did is an open source first. We have a GitHub and every project is open source over there. At first, we think that is for the transparency because we do a lot of things about improve transparency in the political aspect, right? So we want to be transparent ourselves. But at some point, this is during the Bangkok election, someone just submitting the PR because we launched the project and it's go live. And it's quite getting a lot of attention. And someone just found a bug on the project that we're working on, and they just submit the PR. So from that time, we start to see the power of open source that is actually allow people to contribute, even though we didn't plan to do so. So after that, so we joined the Hacktoberfest. I think a lot of people know Hacktoberfest by GitHub. So it's an open source promoting campaign. Like people all around the world come up and contribute to open source. So we joined them with the Parliament Watch project 2 years already. We have like over 30 issues closed, more than 30 contributions come to us. And even some are proposed their PR that we are not planning, which is quite impressive for us. And then this is what I have learned after like maintaining Hacktoberfest for 2 years. First is about we need to be efficient in asynchronous communication because everyone working on it on free time. So we need to be concise. We need to make a well documentation so that people can follow without not talking to us. And then it's our job to prioritize issue. So I have a hidden backlog because people just come and pick what they want to do. So it's our job to like prioritize and making a group of issue that most important first. When they complete it, then we add a new one. So that would be a good trick. And then the last one, I think it's really important to me, is about maintaining life balance because I do this as a full time, but people who come to contribute us usually have their own full-time job during the day. So they come pick up maybe like at midnight and they ask me question at midnight. So I need to balance myself as well. I feel like if there's something that I can answer and it help them unblock what they are doing, then I will do it straight away. But if something need to consume a lot of my time, then I will like, all right, okay, I will do it tomorrow during my work. So it's about balancing as well. So it's a tiring work, but totally it's worth it. So this is one of the best moments I have in my open source maintaining life. So some people just feel like they learn a lot from like submitting our PR and they are so happy. So I want to look at the open source industry like it's a win-win situation. People contribute to us and we also help them experience a new thing, learning a new thing, which I think is the best thing for open source. And it actually reminds me about concept that we are working. We're working a lot with the political issue, social issue, so it's a big thing. But open source community is about making our world a little bit better, one commit at a time. I hope that I can make people who come to contribute us feel about this as well. And I think that's all for my session. So we have a lot of our work on the VWIS Info QR code. You can check it out. And we also, Parliament Watch now, we are not doing on the Hacktober phase alone anymore. So we keep opening issue throughout the year, and we have a lot of fun stuff this year as well. So if anyone interesting, just check our project. And because I have a short time, so if anyone have a question, just reach me after the speaker.
Unusually for lightning talk, we might be able to do Q&A now.
Oh, we have time?
We have a second speaker who doesn't seem to have appeared. Pitawat? On the similar topic, but does not seem to be here. So actually, we can do Q&A. While we're waiting, next speaker, are you here? Oh dear. Are there any questions?
All right.
on Thai democracy? I guess while I find the schedule.
Okay, I didn't expect that. Well, let's see if anyone have any question.
No questions? Okay.
Okay, that's fine.
No. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, we're missing the final lightning speaker, so we have a few minutes. Momentarily, I'll find the name of the next speaker who we need to get set up with slides. So please stand by. You Antoine, by any chance? Yeah. Excellent, excellent, excellent. Please help him get his slides. You're on in... Oh, you've got 5 minutes. Sorry. Right. You're welcome, but be warned, you quite maximum Did you upload the slides? No. Okay, in that case. All right. No, they're not uploaded. Somewhere here there's an adapter. Oh, it's straight. Oh, you can play it tonight. Okay, so plug it and go. Just beware the color might be strange. That's ours. You'll need it. Yeah, when he's done, put it back. Yeah, that's the warning. Somebody's in. Night shift is the. We haven't really had to turn it off. And so for some reason no, for only for nights. Yeah. It's okay. I'll just deal with it. Yeah, unless you've got images where you care. Yeah, we don't know why. You plug in a ThinkPad, it's fine. You plug in a Mac, and for some reason, the Mac and the screen have a difference of opinion about the color scheme. There is someone. This one? Nope. I think we had 15. Oh yeah, we've got you scheduled as a few minutes talk, but that's all right. No break for the next one. Okay. Second last speaker of the day, Antoine Grondin from WebScale, will talk to us about structured logging. Defeated at the last moment. Go ahead, thanks. You got a mic?
Hi, I'm Antoine Grondin. Today I want to talk about something pretty simple, just an idea. It's called structured logging. I think it's more well known now than it used to be, but not everybody knows about it, and I think it's very useful, so I just want to talk about it. And yeah. So a little bit about me. My name is Antoine Grondin. I'm an engineer, mostly work on distributed systems. French-Canadian, I live in Seoul, and at night I deliver GPUs for an AI hyperscaler. And during the day, I hack on humanlog.io, which is a CLI tool for structured logs that I made a while ago. And I love coffee shops, brunching, sailing. That's a little bit about me. So how I'm going to assume you log today? Probably you're printfing strings. So you use like %s, you put words into things. All the code examples here are in Go, because that's the main language I use. And how I think people should mostly not log is by printf logging. So what is structured logging? Basically, structured logging is when you don't printf your strings. Everything you keep, like all the things you would printf, like use %d or %s, you keep as key values. So for example, you would log the address of the thing that's serving an RPC. In this way, you would keep the key value. And then this would emit JSON on standard error or log fump. There's different formats. In this manner. So you just keep the address here. It's not turned into other things. So for example, if you would previously log a request, the amount of data that was logged by a request in this way, to do it in structured manner, you would do it as is shown here. Same thing, if you have errors, just log the errors individually, keep the data separated, keep the key values separated. So why would you do this? Why does it matter? Well, it's easier to process programmatically, because when you printf your values inside of a string, and when you want to get the data back, you need to parse the strings. And usually it's human-readable string, it's not machine-readable stuff. And I would argue that, for the most part, logs are for machines first. Mostly, what I mean by this is that logs go through a bunch of machines before they end up in the eyes of any operator. And you want to do all kinds of stuff with your logs most of the time, except when you're iterating just locally on your own machine. And you can always make your logs prettier at the end. Like if you have a bunch of ugly JSON, you can just shove it into some tool that colorizes them, makes them pretty, which is this CLI tool I built a while ago. So it looks like this, for instance. If you have a log file, you just shove it in there, it's going to make stuff pretty. You don't need to make it pretty by default. You can make it pretty later. So for instance, this is just logs from services running in Kubernetes. They log in JSON, which is kind of unreadable, but it's very useful. But if you pipe this into a tool that makes it pretty, it just looks better with some colors and stuff. So you don't need to like detect if standard output is a TTY and then turn on colors or stuff like that. You can just add it later. So once you have nice logs in JSON or log font or something, you can do all kind of cool stuff with this much more easily than if you need to use regex. So for instance, something I did a while ago, I worked at another cloud provider. It's called DigitalOcean, and we had like a bunch of hypervisors everywhere. And the gimmick of DigitalOcean at the beginning was selling SSDs for very cheap. But all the SSDs on the hypervisors were very expensive, and we wanted to sell all the space for it. But every time we had to download disk image, it would take a while, and people wanted to create VMs quickly. So I wanted to introduce a cache on all hypervisors, but it was a touchy subject because we don't want to use SSDs for caching. So what I did is I pulled all of the logs for the last 6 months, and I built a little simulation and replayed the logs against the simulation to prove what would have happened if we had had a cache in place. And this was pretty easy to do because all the logs were easy to work with because they were all kept in JSON format. So I think that's just an example of what's great about keeping your data structured without losing all the meaning. And when you do this, you can, you don't need to go fancy. You can just shove all of your logs in a database. It could be Postgres or a column-oriented database. Or you can use fancy tools like Splunks or Kibana, which is out of flavor now, Grafana, Loki, or HumanLog, which is what I'm working on. And then you can graph this. This graph is meaningless. It's just to, I don't know, demonstration. And also it's from Kibana like 10 years ago. So. But basically the message is don't lose the inherent structure in your data. When you're in your program, you've got variables with names and values. You don't shove all your variables into one string and then index into that string when you want to refer to something. So why do the same thing with your logs? Just keep the structure in an easily captured format. So how would you do it? Well, first of all, don't format the message, obviously. Just keep a plain string with no interpolation or sprintfing. And log everything that's useful in the context as a key value. I would say there's the other formats you can log, like log FMT or XML. I would say just log in JSON because in the case of log FMT, there's no formal grammar for like how to parse this format. So there's also not many parsers in all languages, but every language almost on Earth has a JSON parser. So you can use it anywhere. In terms of language supports, there's a lot of libraries that do this. This is just a couple, just in case you didn't want to Google. It's easy. Just Google your language structured logging, and you'll find it. These are loggers that do this. And then use it in your project. If you have a project where you're currently doing sprintf logging, especially if it's something that's distributed, like Logger, Docker used to be like this, Prometheus, all kinds of open source projects. If you can switch them to structured logging and it makes sense in your case, it would be nice for the rest of the people. When not to use it, there are cases where it doesn't always make sense. Mostly when it's actually only a human that's going to look at it. For instance, the CLI output. But even then, quite often you want to pipe your CLI output into other tools. So if you keep a nice structure, if you have like a flag to change the format to JSON, that's always very useful. And just finally, I talked about HumanLog, the CLI I made a long time ago. I always wanted to have a search engine in it to be able to do more things without having to reach production. So I started hacking more on it a couple of months ago and turned it into a fully featured like Splunk-like engine, but on your machine. So this is very alpha software, but if you want to give it a spin, it's super broken, but any feedback is going to be great. And yeah, I'd love to know. You can look it up here if you're interested. I'll leave this here for a couple seconds. And if you want to learn more or chat with me, these are my contact informations. And that's the end. Thank you so much.
Very cool. Thank you.
Thank you.
I've spent more hours of my life than I wish to admit dealing with badly presented logs. I have a specific question. You suggested not using this for CLI type logs.
If you write a CLI tool and you want, it's just for users.
Oh, it's for users. Okay, I get it.
Just like it goes straight into a user's face. There's
unless you put like the batch mode parameter.
Yeah, so that's what I meant with like, let's say kubectl, like a kubectl, as a -o flag, you can make it print in JSON or YAML, for example. But by default, it prints.
Default is for humans. Yeah. Okay. Good idea. Right. Any other questions from people who have wasted years of their lives struggling with logs?
OpenTelemetry standardizes certain keys. Does HumanLog pay attention to that, like traces or trace IDs?
Not yet, but I'm very aware of OpenTelemetry. I started this thing before it became a thing, but yeah, it can parse it. And I want, right now, HumanLog only deal with logs, but the second thing I want to do is tracing, because when you iterate on your machine and you like make a service and they talk to each other, usually you cannot see your traces unless you set up Jaeger or like some other like thing. It's super complicated in the Docker Compose. Most people just ship their software to prod and then look at their traces and then iterate this way. But like your iteration loop there is like 20 minutes or something. Like it should be seconds. And I want HumanLog later to do distributed tracing. But we're starting with logging. Yeah. And OpenTelemetry, of course. Thank you.
We do have plenty of time, so if there are other... Perhaps not.
I've got stickers, and I think we have some extra T-shirts. If people want, we like T-shirts, so we made some fun ones.
All right. We have about 6 minutes before our next talk, but fortunately we have a speaker, so it's coming together. Stand by. No, we're running the schedule, so we've got about 5 minutes. But thank you for writing on time.
Just done another one. I was just done with another one.
Yeah, part of why I'm holding people back is exactly because people are moving between rooms. It's really annoying to turn up in 5 minutes. I'll try and sort of haul that in. But not. I'm the speaker. You may have a slot.
So 10 extra. Did you have 10 extra minutes?
So no, I missed two. But because there was no time between the lightning talks and him. So that meant I had the 5 minutes available for the setup. The screen color to change only on an external projector. Overlapping schedules. It's like. One session that was 25 minutes long. And the next
Does it happen automatically or someone scheduling? I know it's
The speaker of the last session, but you come late.
Fine, okay, but you get to come, you're going to speak after Pamela. Okay. You're in 20 minutes, right? Are your slides uploaded as a PDF to the venue?
I never got any email about uploading the slide.
Oh, are you...
But I use Google Slide.
Yeah,
so maybe I can send you
that gets us into trouble every time because it turns out the links are unauthenticated. If you're okay without the speaker notes, I would encourage export a PDF, go into your session in Event A, edit session, and attach the PDF because then it will appear on the laptop.
Okay.
Reinvent the wheel. Trying to get Eric. What we're going to do is have you use your laptop, and we're going to test our new theory about why the screen turns yellow every time someone finds a Mac in. According to this man here, he found the setting. There's an accessibility setting somewhere.
Is he using a Mac?
Yes. No, he looked it up. Search Google.
Is it a feature or a bug?
Help us take a nap. Take off the blue light.
Help me not look at your That's a feature. All right. Good. Right. We are at last at the final scheduled speaker, although we will in fact have one of the missing lightning talks immediately after. But before then, Padmal, who's a long-term member of the FOSSASIA team and developer of the PS Lab device, is going to talk about a bunch of GSOC stuff. Go ahead, Padmal.
Yeah, thank you. My name is Padmal, and I'm one of the developers with the PS Lab group, and we mainly focus on FOSS education and using electronics for educational systems. And has any one of you been a student of GSOC before? No? Okay, great. So GSOC is an open source program by Google where they try to promote open source software by trying to get more people into open source development and to the open source ecosystems. And this year they have their GSOC program for the 21st time, and FOSSASIA is one of the organizations. And my task is about to educate you about what are the projects that we have and how you can apply. And this is a big QR that you can scan and get direct access to the FOSSASIA page in GSOC website. And in order to apply for GSOC, there are some requirements that a candidate must fulfill. One, I have kind of highlighted the main 3 points. The first is you need to be 18 years or older, and usually this was a program kind of restricted to university students, but since last year it was open to anyone. But they kind of mentioned that the participant should be a beginner to open source software development. That means that if you are in the community for a long time, maybe it's a gray area. But and also if you have been a participant for 2 or more times, then you're also not eligible to join. But I guess you have, any of you has not been in the program, so you're quite okay to join. And the other eligibility criteria are quite vague. They're not much important. And the program's application starts on 25th March, so about a week to go, and they last for until 9th of April. And it's just a simple form you need to fill up just to apply. And afterwards, you need to be in contact with the organization that you like. We prefer FOSSASIA because for obvious reasons. And then you can choose. There are many projects to choose from. These are the main ideas that we have, and you're also free to suggest if you have any improvements that you would like to do to the FOSSASIA ecosystem. And the link below, I wonder if we can go there. No. So if you go to the FOSSASIA page in the GSOC project, you can have a better document that lists all the projects and their detailed description. And mainly there are 7 projects. One is EventA. That's the website that you signed up with to attend this summit. And there are many more improvements to do to that website, and there are 6 listed here. And if you are into JavaScript development, and then this is a very good project to start with. And also Sushi AI, it's another AI-based system that we had, and it's coming back to live again. That's another project that you can work on. And we have another Chrome extension called Scrum Helper that helps you work in a GSOC project much better. And the FOSSASIA organization website itself needs some improvement, so there's another project that focuses on that. And we have the LED badge magic, this shiny LED badge that we are all wearing. We need more improvements to the Flutter app development. So if you're a Dart-based Flutter developer, then this is a very good project to start with. And we have two hardware/software-based projects. One is the Magic ePaper. It's an e-ink-based hardware platform, which is quite new to the organization. And there are two tasks that we try to get to work with the GSOC project. And then with the Pocket Science Lab, we currently have a native implementation of the Android app, and we want to make it cross-compatible with all the iOS and web platforms. So we are migrating to Flutter, and there's quite the work to do in that area. So there's a large-scale project for that one. And also we have some projects related to Python library and the firmware library improvements in PS Lab. So we have two more tasks for that as well. So altogether we have quite a lot, and we have quite a lot of mentors to accommodate all these projects. And I wish there will be so many applications from you guys. Yeah. And now I would like to take any questions that you would have regarding applications and how you would like to start with the projects. Yeah.
Anybody inspired to work on any of the FOSSASIA
And then also I didn't mention the main thing. It's a paid internship kind of thing. Okay. Over $3,000.
There's actual money on the table.
Yeah.
Oh dear.
Okay. That's the most important
audience.
part. I missed it.
All right, you done? That's,
yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Before we let him go, any other questions, comments, etc.? Nothing at all. Thank you, Padma.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
In theory, Padma was the final speaker for the day, but in fact, we have one remaining lightning talk, and we're going to test the theory about whether we finally fixed the. Go ahead. Max, make the screen turn yellow problem. The moment of truth. just yank it. Okay?
Okay, okay, it's yellow. Okay, whatever.
Apple outsmarts us again.
Okay, still yellow. Okay, whatever. Anyway, hi everyone. My name is Vitawatri Kiroshai. I'm research scientist at Typhoon SB10X. So by now, I guess you probably heard the term open source countless times in this summit already. But have you ever stopped and wondered, what does it mean by open source in the era of ubiquitous AI? Right? The term is very fuzzy right now, and most of the latest advancement in the AI kept behind the closed door. But why is that? Well, one of the reasons is like it's very, very expensive to train such a model with a massive data on a very huge infrastructure. Okay, it's expensive. The second one is it's very hard. It's not easy. Training such a large model on such a large infrastructure has many unique challenges. So the company has more incentive to keep everything as the secret sauce a secret. And finally, it's about the sovereign AI. So many of the companies that develop AI, they can control the progress of the AI, how it will be developed and how it will be deployed. But one thing that history has taught us is that when we share the knowledge, when we work collaboratively, and when we build upon each other, we can progress faster and further. And that is what Typhoon believes. We believe that by committing to the open source AI, we can push the boundary of human knowledge. But it's not an easy task. So what does we mean by open source AI? Well, we believe that open source AI is not just about open the weight of the model. It's also about open the data set, open the source code, and more importantly, open the knowledge, the insight that we use to train our model. So we can work together and push the boundary of human knowledge. Well, take Typhoon T1 and Typhoon R1 for example. They are our latest release of the cutting-edge reasoning models. This is one of the latest advancements, but we do not only release the weight of the model, we also release our training dataset, the detailed publication, so you can reproduce our model by yourself. But some of you may wonder, what about the performance gap between the open and proprietary model? Well, that is a thing of the past, because right now, the gap is shrinking faster and faster. And sometimes, the open model can even surpass the proprietary model in some domains. So, that is the current state of the model right now. But open source doesn't just mean about open stuff. It also means about collaboration, working with the community. So we have a lot of collaboration, both locally and globally, industry and academia. So let's work on this together. I would like to invite you all, whether you are researchers, developers, or industry leader, to work together on this important journey. Let's make the advanced AI available to everyone and everywhere. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The unusual privilege of being the lightning talk at the end is there's time for questions if anyone wants to ask any. Questions, thoughts, comments? I have one. How large is the corpus? You've got an open corpus that you can train on. You said you're training on an open input data set.
Right.
How big is it in words or pages or megabytes or
For
whatever?
the reasoning model, for example, take Typhoon T1, it has about 50,000 rows.
It's tiny.
Yeah, it's not that large.
Fascinating. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Well, that wraps it for this year, at least for this room. Thank you all. Please come and see us next year. Please come and speak next year. We're always looking for good speakers. We're always looking for people to volunteer to help us to run it. So when that comes up in about September, please submit or volunteer if you'd like to. Thank you very much. It was unscheduled lightning. We do have a closing. Pleasure. I've finished the thing. Summit closing. So one other detail I'd forgotten. We actually have a closing session for the entire summit next door in Hall 2 at 4:30. So that's a wrap-up and a bit of feedback and a bit of see you next year. So actually, you are invited to please join us for the closing in 30 minutes' time in Hall 2. Thanks.